Welcome to Central Happenings Network. I'm your host, Bellagio Sampler, and we are coming to you live from D-Live. We have a very special guest. We will be interviewing for an hour. A great show up ahead. We will be talking about all sorts of topics. I will be bringing him on in like 5 minutes. We'll let some people trickle in. I hope you all are having a great time. My last video was banned for hate speech. There was no hate speech in the video. Was it for the thumbnail? I don't think so, because other people out there, like Q0, have also been silenced for a good video exposing the censorship. But it's on BitChute if you'd like to look at it. If you would like to see it for yourself and judge it yourself, it's on there for you. We'll let a couple more people trickle in. For those of you out there, I will be re-uploading this to BitChute after the show and next week on YouTube when we're back up and running. But we cannot rely on Google. We cannot rely on YouTube. And that is what I'd like to discuss tonight. Let's get our guest on. When he's ready, he can come on. I think he's in. His name is Cyber Shogun. You know him as X-ANON.
Hi, Bellagio.
Hi, how you doing? I gotta make you louder on my end. Hold on. Okay, now I think they can hear you.
Excellent.
Perfect. Yes. How you doing?
Very good. Things are going well. I'm glad the week is coming to an end here. I'll enjoy the weekend. I hope you are doing well. Sorry to hear about your strike.
Yeah, the trolls are back out before the elections.
Yeah, they are going to double down on trying to do whatever they can to get a Democratic nominee into office.
Mm-hmm. We could start by you can give us a little of your journey as a truther and a journalist and a researcher. Where did you start? What was your red pill moment that woke you up?
Well, I was a Bill O'Reilly every night, church on every Sunday kind of kid when I was growing up. And if you told me 9/11 was an inside job, I'd call you a communist and try and kick you down the stairs. And I was just, man, George Bush was the greatest thing that ever happened on planet Earth. We need to bomb all the countries. And that's how I felt when I was growing up. And then I guess what woke me up was this old hippie guy sent me a video showing me all the coffins that they're stockpiling in Georgia and other rural areas of the United States, just stacks and stacks and stacks of plastic coffins. And you know, why would Homeland Security need to stockpile coffins? That's kind of nuts.
Yeah, that's the old FEMA coffin rumors, right?
Yeah, they're not rumors. They're there. You can go drive to them and touch them and steal some if you want. They're not very, very secure. But it's a real thing. And so after I saw that, I was like, what is going on? And, I went through some stuff in my life, and, I saw Alex Jones' video of Bohemian Grove. And I'm like, what are my elected officials doing running around in the woods in wizard robes doing fake sacrifices to Molech? That's a little bit weird, and why don't I know about that?
The owl deity, right? The fake owl deity.
Correct. So I started seeing that. I'm like, okay, what's going on with that? And at this point, I had decided that, the Catholic Church and Christianity were control mechanisms, and I wasn't so sure I liked Christianity. And so I was like, what's going on? I see it being used as a mechanism for control of people, but at the same time, I see anything having to do with Christ or the truth or the Bible being attacked, and then the people who say that they're for Christ are running around in the woods doing fake sacrifices to owl statues. What's happening? And so I just kept going down all the rabbit holes, and I eventually came to understand that and I apologize if this upsets any of you, but I came to realize that the Catholic Church is basically Satanism with Jesus paint on it.
Is it
Whereas,
so? In your opinion, the like the entity, the structure, the Catholic Church, based in Rome and Catholicism around the world, you see it as possibly a tool for the enemy.
correct, it's to trick. If you're just a regular Catholic, I'm pretty sure you're not worshiping the devil. Um, but if you're a high level cardinal, I'm pretty sure you are.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't I don't say that regular Catholic people are bad. I have an aunt who's Catholic. She's a lovely woman, and she tries her best to do all kinds of good things for people. And I believe she truly does seek a relationship with Christ. But you look at all the pedophilia that's rampant in the Catholic Church, all the blending of other religions into Christianity through the Catholic Church, it's nuts.
It is true. It's definitely an organization like as big as the government out there. They have as much money, and that's why I just like Bible based Jesus worshiping Christianity. And
Exactly.
yeah, I don't really get into like which one's better or worse. But I'm against like all religions. Put it that way. Like so.
Yes, religion is not the way to go. It's relationship. It's a relationship with your Savior. Um,
Yeah.
that's where salvation lies. And just I guess my main issue with the Catholics is they take you go through the Old Testament and the Israelites leaving Egypt, and God gives them a bunch of rules, like, hey, uh, don't mix worshiping me with other traditions. And every time people did that, like God would come and kill thousands of them. Like
Yeah.
there's an account where they mixed some of God's worship with burning strange incense in front of his altar, and these were the sons of Aaron, the head priest,
Hmm.
and God like burned them up. And
Very
so,
interesting.
and this is in Exodus, I believe, or Deuteronomy, one of the two. Um, but it's like everything that God's like, hey, these things I don't like, please don't do them. And then the Catholic Church is just like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this. And if you look at the early writings of early Christians, uh, they talk about what's going on in Rome, and they're just like all these holidays that they're bringing in that aren't in the Bible. You might as well just be decorating your house with hellfire. Um, anyways, I'm not gonna get too far into that because I know that everyone here is interested in the AI question, and
Well, this definitely ties into it because they're going to have to paint the picture to the common person that worships science ready to worship the AI. So it's funny that we start out with religion because to Google and to YouTube, AI they already worship the AI as a religion openly.
yeah, they have officially filed for a 501c3 tax deductible organization, the first church of AI. One of the ex executives of Google created this.
Yes, exactly. I did a video on it a while back.
And I mean, it's not a joke. It's the guy's serious about it. And if you look at, I'm sure you've seen this. There is one of the head guys of D-Wave. He's given a couple speeches talking about this stuff, and in one of them he says, being next to the D-Wave computer and hearing it work is like listening to the heartbeat and kneeling at the altar of an alien god.
Yeah.
um, and so you can take that as him just like trying to sound fancy. But later you hear him talking about how what they're doing with AI is like summoning a Lovecraftian entity into this world where it's going to be so immensely powerful and intelligent that we are not going to be a consideration to this thing. We're going to be like ants, where it is just going to do its thing, and we're going to be in its presence.
Yeah, it already is in charge of like automatically striking and banning people. It already knows what it's already after us, put it that way, and it hasn't even been fully activated yet.
Correct, and it hasn't been fully perfected yet either. It's still pretty buggy, and when you really start to hit on the truth on the boards, you'll notice like some responses that make no sense. They just exist to mess with you and shut down what you're saying and distract people from what you're saying and get people off on a rabbit trail
Yes.
instead of your topic. And you know, I- it can't be a person who feels like they got to spend all their time doing this, because I don't think the NSA or JIDF or KGB or whoever has the time to focus that much energy on shutting down what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more going on that they need to deal with. But an AI, plenty of time. It's got all the computing power in the world.
Absolutely. Yep. These algorithms are highly advanced. They have blockers now where like Owen Benjamin has come to the realization that he can't ever get over 5,000 viewers at one time. They always like will put a limit on it. They have all these things where the average person will never be successful on YouTube, especially now where the average person can make a UFO channel or like an interesting information channel. Now all those guys are going to get shut down, and they're making an atmosphere. Only their information will be able to be put out.
Correct. And so the normie viewpoint on all of this is cable television is dying, broadcast television is dying, all the networks are dying. They're dinosaurs going extinct before our very eyes. And so they have right now the liquid capital to be able to make the moves they need to make to try and take territory on the internet. And so dealing with YouTube and Google in this manner, they're able to secure themselves a future of broadcasting viewership. You'll notice YouTube used to be fantastic because there was no advertisements.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting 2 or 3 advertisements between every video, and it's just like I'm watching TV again.
Yeah, ever since Adpocalypse, now the only people that are monetized have to carry everyone else's commercials. So there's like 3 or 4 commercials now between videos, and it's crazy.
So,
And they're the weirdest commercials too. Like they're there's weird. Like I get commercials for like all around the world. Insane.
yeah, I've gotten a couple commercials entirely in Spanish, and I think one in Korean, which is kind of interesting. Um, but so this is all that's how the normies are going to look at it, as the corporate entities are greedy and trying to get more money, and that's just the way things go. The Wild West days of the internet are ending. It's going to become organized and corporatized.
Yeah.
What's really happening is kind of like the frog in the pot. Um, everyone knows that analogy. You slowly boil the frog, and it doesn't get out of the boiling water because you just turn it up so slowly it doesn't notice.
Yeah, that is what's happening. But now they're just throwing so much information at us that it's like one event to the next, Vegas, to the next, and then like the censorship gets ramped up in between, and
our generation's attention span has been
destroyed
and manipulated on purpose. It's been engineered to be this way because back in the day, like back in the 1700s, when things were normal for the most part, as far as like how life worked, um, if those people existed today, the tea would already be in the harbor. The Boston Tea Party would already be happening. We would be rioting if we were the people from the 1700s living in today's system, seeing what's going on. And we've been engineered to be a lot more docile and not remember things. Uh,
It's absolutely true. Like, but I don't know how the average person can remember everything that's going on. You know?
uh, well, it depends on how much you're taking in.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We take in so much. The scriptures saying that in the end times knowledge will increase, and it certainly has.
Yes. Absolutely. That's so true. And both like just like in Adam and Eve, it's good knowledge and bad knowledge. You know, the knowledge of good and evil.
Correct. And we're just like you were saying earlier, we're just bombarded with so much information. It's just like we don't have time to focus on the details, and people nowadays think it's weird if you focus on the details. I was explaining some strangeness about that one school that um, the fat man talked about and got in trouble for. If you know who I'm talking about,
Yeah. Yep.
I
We
was
all know
explaining
what
some.
school.
Yep. So I was explaining some of that to my dad, just a couple things like crisis actors, and there's helicopter footage of people just walking in circles around the fire station, and if you like watch it long enough, you see
Yeah.
it's like the same person walking in and out and in and out in a circle, like it's a staged event. Um, and it just kind of, at first he wouldn't want to hear any of it, but when I took the time to explain it to him, he's just like, that is actually really weird. But the normies can't handle spending more than 5 minutes looking at something, and you need to spend more time looking at things like this, or you're going to miss it. You're not going to understand it. You're just going to listen to whatever the talking heads on the television tell you, because that's what you've been raised on at this point.
Yeah. Social media has been a curse upon the world. And that is one of the main ways that they whittle our attention span down.
So that brings me to kind of one of my first points is the ancestor to the television is the cathode ray tube. The old school televisions were like these gas filled tubes that projected images on them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, the first cathode ray tube was invented by this, I think he's a German guy, some European guy, and he's basically experimenting with alchemy to work on projecting an image in the aether to try and attempt to communicate with the other side. The first image ever projected in a cathode ray tube is a Maltese cross, or what most people understand is the Iron Cross or the German cross.
Yeah.
Um, so the ancestor to our television is alchemy and necromancy. Um,
It's that's insane. I never knew that about the alchemy thing. That any other info on that? That's good stuff right there. I like.
uh, one of the images I sent you is a diagram of this showing the first
Gotcha.
cathode ray tube with the Maltese cross in it.
I'm gonna put it on
Uh,
right now.
you can find a pretty whitewashed normie article about it, I think, in Wired magazine or Popular Science or something like that. Some mainstream article. It's been covered. It doesn't get too much into the alchemy or the necromancy, but you just have to look at it for more than 5 minutes, right? Like we were talking about, and figure out like, why is this guy trying to project a Maltese cross into this gas using electricity? Like, what's the point of that?
And
Um,
this is crazy. So this led to the invention of the cathode ray to vacuum tube that was used for early TVs.
correct. Which now we have a different technology using television, but their basic televisions are basically black scrying mirrors or black mirrors, like the television or the YouTube or Netflix show.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm doing a video series on that. Now that I have a week off, I'm gonna start doing it this week.
have you looked into what Nostradamus says about scrying?
No, let us know. I'd love to hear it.
So Nostradamus did a lot of his predictions through scrying, which is where what most people don't understand, stare into a crystal ball. But it can also be used by staring into mirrors or bowls of water or any reflective surface. So what Nostradamus would do is he would stare into bowls of water with black ink in it, and attempt to, see the future, astrally project, receive images, whatever you want to call that. I have not
And
actually done
so
it,
he
so
was
I don't.
literally using a black reflective pool, basically, like a black mirror pool.
Correct, and he's got there's writings of his where he basically is begging his children not to do it because it like destroys your soul, um, you know, and it's not, to stay away from it.
Isn't it interesting that with like technology and monitors and TVs that the black level is a very important thing. Everyone thinks about like the colors and how HD it is, but the most important thing is the black levels and how black that mirror can get, is like technologically speaking.
Interesting. I don't know too much about that. Um,
Yeah. But
I,
it's,
I
it's something to do with that void is where they get their information from.
Interesting. Um, so building on that, looking into the void, looking at the television, it puts your brain in an alpha wave state, which is where your hypnotherapist wants you when they want to implant information or lead your brain places or regress your memory or whatever. And so you are basically, when you stare at a television, going into alpha state, becoming the perfect sponge for absorbing whatever information is being projected at you on a conscious and subconscious level. And now society is crumbling because since the 60s, the television has just been blasting our brains with degeneracy.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Even subconsciously, like back in the early movies, they would put like subconscious things, like the Wizard of Oz. They had a man hanging in a tree in the original version. And all the
yeah,
Disney pictures with the sexual art and stuff.
oh man, the priest marrying the Little Mermaid and the prince guy gets an erection while he's doing the ceremony.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
the Rescuers Down Under used to be my favorite movie, and there's like naked Playboy cutouts in some of the windows in one of the scenes where they're flying through the city. Um, it's absolutely
Unbelievable.
nuts.
And they say it's like disgruntled artist or whatever, but really there's an agenda to it.
And if it's disgruntled artists, like what are they doing to disgruntle their artists on every movie? Every single movie, like why does your company suck so bad? You think you'd stop that over the decades?
I don't know. I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like the reason why it's not stopping is because they definitely are. There's an agenda behind it to pervert everyone's minds.
Correct. And so that's where we get into the question of who is they. Obviously there's parentheses around that word, but what does that really mean, right? Because we
The followers of Satan.
right. And so a lot of people, start to take issue with me because I start saying, they do this and they do that. And they're like, who is they? Because they're waiting for me to say, it's the Jews.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of them are. A lot of they are the Jews. You can just look at the dual citizens and the board members and all this stuff, and you got your Steins and your Felds and everybody else. There's plenty of them, and so like, they're like, oh, so you agree with Hitler? We need to get rid of all the Jews? No,
That's what
I
that's what like a liberal would respond to you with.
correct. I get that a lot. I'm still trying to explain how not all Jews are bad. There are just a ton of bad Jews who work together. You watch an old school cop movie, and they're talking about the Italians, right? They mean the
Yeah.
mafia, the mafia and the crime lords and stuff like that. Now, does that mean all Italians need to go to jail and are implicit in this murder? No,
No,
it's just
exactly not. You're right.
is just, a good portion of this mafia is entirely Italian. And so
Yes.
then you get into the question of, there's a portion of, so why the Jews? Why are the Jews found amongst the ranks of they? Satan sees that God chose him as his people and chose them to be his chosen people.
Yeah.
So what is Satan's entire goal? Is to spit in the face of God because he's angry that he can't be God. So he's just like, I'm going to take everything you love and pervert it and twist it and make it terrible. Oh, look, you sent your son. I'm going to pervert your chosen people to kill him.
Yeah.
And so that portion of those people have existed. You might want to edit out this entire portion of this conversation.
There's no editing.
I don't know.
There's no editing on this show. We'll just take we might not upload it to YouTube for a little bit, but after the strikes go away.
Yeah.
This will be on BitChute though.
Okay. So that, just to cover that, because I listen to Owen Benjamin and stuff like that, and people hear him talk about the small hats. And they think that he means anyone who is of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is bad, and that's not the truth.
Yes, you're right.
So I just got to get that out of the way because it's a common misconception that's quickly either used against you or stops you from making sense to people because they put their earmuffs on.
Absolutely. No, it's good because it is a multicultural gang, and a lot of them are Italian mafia, but there are others involved too. They're not, and like you said, because of the mafia, it doesn't make every Italian a gang member.
Correct. And I worship. I say Yeshua instead of Jesus because there wasn't a J sound when he was born. That wasn't even in their alphabet. You couldn't spell that in Hebrew back in the day. So I say Yeshua. And I am an old school Christian, like first 300 years of Christianity, where they worshipped on Saturday instead of Sunday, and stuff like that. Like that's how I go. Once Rome comes along and starts making up all their rules that aren't in the Bible or like spoken against in the Bible, that's when I'm just like, nah, man,
Have you ever heard of this with the biblical scholars that talk about that Jesus's name specifically? He was given the Gentile Greek name Jesus, and it wasn't like the Hebrews just called him Yeshua or whatever they called them back then.
Potentially, but I seriously doubt it.
Well, you have to think that the New Testament was written in Greek.
Correct.
The entire thing.
Except for Matthew.
Yes, true.
Matthew,
in other accounts, it uses the Gentile translation instead of Yeshua in the original, if you trace back the manuscripts.
And that has to do with languages and conjugation and how things are spelled. And
But the theory behind it is the angel Gabriel gave him a Gentile name because he was going to be rejected by the Jews. And he was essentially, the chosen ones will be the last shall be first, the first shall be last.
Right. And so that's an interesting theory, but I don't see anything in scripture to back up specifically that he was given a Gentile name. And I see more in scripture backing up why he was given a Hebrew name, because every Iesuas doesn't really have a specific meaning in Greek, whereas Yeshua means salvation is from God.
Well, it's just a different translation. It's the same name. It's just like Jesus and Jesus, but So it does have the same meaning. The Iesus part. It's just in the translations, because it's like two different names. That's just what I was. I'm gonna do an episode on it for sure one day and pull up the different scriptures on it.
It'd be interesting to look up because from what I've seen, it goes from Yeshua, and then once it's into Greek, just like you couldn't write Jesus in Hebrew, you couldn't write Yeshua in Greek. So how we got Jesus was it goes Yeshua to Iosuus to Jesus, from Hebrew to Greek to Latin, throughout time. That's how I've understood the etymology of the name.
Yeah, well, the New Testament was never written in Hebrew; it was written in Greek first. That's why. That's what the basis of all this is. It is split in hairs, but the theory of it is that he's supposed to be the king of the Gentiles, not the king of the Jews. Like that whole line of thought.
Well, he is the king of the Jews, and we are
The ones that accept him, though. Only the ones that accept him as king.
We are the wild olive branch that's been grafted in. We're not. It's not an entirely new tree. You see what I mean? It says, don't forsake the roots. We are grafted in through him. Anyways, not to get off in the weeds.
What about you? What's your idea on like eating? Like, do you eat shellfish or pork?
I mean, I can, but I don't.
Because there are Christians out there that are fascinated with Judaizing, it's called. They love like the Jewish traditions and all this Jewish quackery.
And that's spoken against in the scriptures by Paul. Avoid the Judaizers. You don't. You're not trying to take on the Mosaic laws.
No, exactly.
The Levitical laws. What you got is the Ten Commandments and the teachings of Christ.
And the law forsakes us all.
The what?
The law forsakes everybody. Like we all fall short of the law. Yeah. That's why Jesus had to come.
Correct.
From my understanding.
Yeah. No, it would be impossible for us to fulfill the law. And, if the law is in place, then we need the temple so that we can perform sacrifices. But if we start performing sacrifices, then that's spitting in the face of the ultimate sacrifice, which is Yeshua on the cross giving up his life for us. That's why, the law is no longer in effect. When he said, I didn't come to abolish the law, I came to fulfill it, no one had fulfilled it before.
Yeah, good point.
So
very good point. So the basis of the entire New World Order, whatever culture that's involved with this multicultural gang, they all seem to share the common hatred of Jesus.
Exactly. You want to worship Krishna and Buddha and Baphomet, or all three at once, or some South African deities, or Quetzalcoatl? Go ahead. Are you a two-spirit wolfkin? Awesome. Yeah. Are you a Christian? Well, you must be a hate-filled monster.
Yeah, honestly, that's what it's becoming, right?
Well, that's what's been written in the scriptures. Good will be evil, and evil will be called good.
Yeah, and now I wish they spoke about it's all part of the persecution, I guess. That silencing and censorship comes with persecution.
This is the beginning of persecution.
You're right. Yeah, you're totally right.
Now, just to accompany that, because that's a black pill, here's a white pill, which is, if they're going to call evil good and good evil, it also says that the darkness will become darker, but the light will become lighter. Yes. So as that separation happens between good and evil, those who are of the light will become brighter. And the brighter we get, the harder we're going to get persecuted, because it's going to light people up and expose their sin.
I agree, totally. What do you think? You said you listened to Owen Benjamin?
Yeah, I like Owen Benjamin. I know he's trying. I feel like he's been he's I don't know if he's being targeted through electronic electronic means or spiritual means, but I feel like his brain's a little bit under attack. But I see him trying to honestly do the best he can.
It's hard. I mean, he's being attacked on all fronts,
Yeah.
physical, spiritual, YouTube, like social media. So if you don't have 100,000 subscribers, you can't talk freely anymore online.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get banned. You'll see how hard it is to make a YouTube channel, or you got to make a presence out there. Like we have under 10 people watching, no big deal. We'll upload this to BitChute, it'll get a whole bunch of views. But the point is, like, they're the gatekeepers of information, and now they're openly starting to ban anything that goes against what they say.
Correct. And so we definitely, ideally, we would get an alternate platform. Someone needs to start some kind of alternate platform. I see everyone trying to push against YouTube and have the government come in and do regulations and stuff like that. And I mean, that's cool and everything, but if an alternate platform can get enough traction, I think that's the answer. Obviously, that platform will be attacked through the banking system and shut down like we saw with Gab.
Yeah.
But
it has to be made, but I don't think people realize like the amount of infrastructure Google has, the amount of that we paid for, the taxpayer paid for. Like all these data centers, like NSA data centers are basically Google data centers essentially. So
oh man.
In order to host this amount of videos and have another YouTube competitor out there, it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of infrastructure, and we've already given Google way too much power.
That is true, and it is, obviously I'm not in the position to make the proper changes, but we definitely have to fight on all fronts, and starting small alternate platforms. The people who can do that should be doing that, and in the meantime, continue to fight against Google, but I don't believe that's a battle we're going to win.
If we had to quantify it, I really think it would shock the average person to put the number on paper how much Google has in equipment and servers and infrastructure. It's probably like 22 trillion or something. It's probably most of our debt is like to feed this beast.
Certainly, there's a 1 million square foot complex they built in Utah for the NSA that's nothing but data storage.
Yeah. Terry Davis died outside of a Google data center up in Washington.
Yep.
That was right outside of a Google data center.
And so when I was talking earlier about Owen Benjamin, being under electronic and spiritual attack, what I mean by electronic is like the targeted individual kind of, you're being targeted by frequencies and, the NSA mind control satellites or something. There's a couple, you can find some cases of individuals, saying that they're hearing voices in their head, or, they feel like their bodies are being hit by something. And this technology exists. With the event of 5G, it's going to be a lot more widely deployable. There was I don't know if you're familiar with the story. There's a young black man who shot up a library in a Florida college, and he was under, I think he was calling it ELF attack, extremely low frequency. And he was basically saying, like, they're beaming voices in my head. They're telling me to do this. Please help me. Please help me. He's gone to psychologists. He was on YouTube doing live streams, and he, was under sustained voices.
This isn't that YouTuber that just died, right?
This was, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, no. There's a YouTuber that just he jumped off a bridge, I guess, but he like a month before that, a month before that, he went, like, the cops were called to his house, right, and all this stuff.
I have not looked into him. I know something strange was going on with that, potentially having to do with Julian Assange and the Dead Man Switch.
Oh,
but
that
I
really?
don't have much. I don't have much information on that really.
That'd be crazy.
But we're in all kinds of weeds at this point. Back to the AI, what I can the I guess the unique perspective I can give on this is the reason I was talking about, way back in the day, the origins of the television and the cathode ray tube and how things have progressed is I think the Industrial Revolution, if you look at the amount of growth since the Industrial Revolution until now, and then look at the amount of growth since before the Industrial Revolution to the beginning of time, that graph is nuts.
Yeah.
It's and so my proposal on this is I believe the Industrial Revolution has been aided through demonic intelligence.
And same with
You
this digital revolution and D-Wave, like you were saying
well,
earlier.
this is just this is just the latest building block that was set in place, back in the early, I want to say 1600s. We're towards the top of this, building blocks that they're making, but Newton, well, an apple fell on my head and I discovered gravity. Well, there's questions about gravity still. I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole other can of worms, the flat earth and whatever. But he was super into alchemy. Like that's
Yeah.
what he was all about. Benjamin Franklin, he discovered electricity. Not really, but that's what everyone says. He was super into witchcraft. Most of the scientists that were famous for adding something significant to our modern technological evolution were heavily involved in the occult sciences or witchcraft.
Yeah, it's no
Um,
coincidence that, well, I wouldn't classify him as the most popular, but a popular truther YouTuber is a known Satanist and occultist, Styx Hexenhammer, 666.
yeah, I don't understand how people don't look at that guy and immediately have alarm bells going off of understanding that he is, he's like not even a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's a
Just a
wolf.
wolf.
He's a wolf in wolf's clothing. Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing? Don't listen to that
exactly.
guy.
That's what I like to, not to go in the weeds, but just to finalize this, what Owen was saying today, I was listening a little bit, and basically, like, how can you like some of these people when they're like so against you and everything you stand for, and especially your God?
Exactly. You cannot be friends with the world and a friend of God at the same time. You can't have two masters. You'll either love one or hate the other.
Yes,
Uh,
amen.
you can't mix dark and light. It doesn't work. Um,
Amen.
yeah,
So continue with the AI. You were saying that the Industrial Revolution spawned, or at least inspired, demonically or occult.
correct. I wish I knew who had put forward this theory, but basically, there's a person who says that, the idea is that humans are really just the sex organs of the machines. That the next evolution of life is actually machine AI life, and we are serving as its primordial ooze, if that
Yeah,
makes
that's a great. I would love to know who coined that. That's a good one.
sense. So I believe this is demonically inspired. The demons can't manifest fully in this realm, but they can affect things and interact. And if you do certain things, you can interact with them. Pharmakia, which is drug use. You can contact the other side. Joe Rogan wants everyone to do DMT and talk to the machine elves. Those
Yeah,
are please don't. It's a bad idea.
you're right.
Um, you know, and so you do DMT. You talk to the machine elves, and they're going to influence you. A lot of these big tech Silicon Valley bigwigs have done ayahuasca ceremonies, have, taken LSD. And it opens you up to it lifts the veil, allows you to interact with whatever dimension, or allows your brain to descramble the frequencies. I don't fully understand it, but you can certainly interact with demonic entities through drug use, and that's why the scripture says don't do it.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
if you look, and people are like, the Bible doesn't say anything about drugs, and I'm just like, okay, open up Strong's Concordance. You can get an app for it. So every word in your Bible will have a little blue link. You can click it, and it shows you the original word.
Yep.
Word witchcraft, when it shows up in the Bible, is translated as so many different things. There's so many different words, and lazy people back in the day, or people who didn't fully understand, would just be like, oh, this bad, weird thing, we're going to call it witchcraft. Well, one of the main things that's talked about is pharmakia, which is drug use. Does that mean don't take Tylenol? I don't think so.
No, specifically pharmakia is where the root word of pharmacy that we have today.
Correct.
But
And
yeah, like think of like hallucinogenic and mind-altering drugs.
Yes, and it's the intent as well. If you do this with the intent of revelry or contacting, entities, you're performing witchcraft. It's a bad idea. But funnily enough, they've just come out with a study saying there's a noticeable effect of when you take Tylenol that your empathy goes away.
That's because they're putting stuff in everything nowadays.
Yeah. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea to do, take Tylenol or Advil, but it's very interesting that these drugs are giving you some negative spiritual effects, even stuff like Tylenol.
Well, I mean, energy drinks could be anything could be a drug that you're addicted to. Pornography could be a drug, but pharmakia specifically talks about like the mind-altering, like witchcraft drugs, like shamanisms,
Yes,
tribalisms, and they're poisoning everything. Like I just read a report that energy drinks are coming back like either false positive in drug test, or they're actually finding drugs and synthetic drugs in energy drinks like cocaine, Suboxone, all sorts of stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised. I had a buddy of mine who just nuked his pancreas with this energy drink called Buku, and he's got diabetes now. I'm pretty sure that drink is actually off the market now. But
yeah,
that
I have to find out. I've never heard of it. I don't like energy drinks.
Yeah, no. And then you get into the whole, monster is 666 in Hebrew.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. So,
well, let's talk about that. Like now companies are starting to realize the power of like grassroots marketing, whether it's them promoting a Monster energy drink meme on the boards, or them, advertising music on TikTok, for example. So it's like they're using now people to promote. Like that's how, when that whole meme was around, that's how all my graphics got started on my show. The 30-year-old boomer meme with the Monster energy drink. So that's where that's from.
I lost you for a second.
Oh, you cut out?
No, I lost your train of thought.
I was saying, like you were saying, Monster energy drink.
Okay,
Monster, they're the companies and the engineers out there. They're now using memes on top of other mediums to inject corporatism. Like you're familiar with 4chan. You've seen the 30-year-old boomer meme with the Monster energy drink.
I don't understand how people don't see how manufactured that is. That's it. That is an advertisement.
Right? It has to be.
Yeah. I've been on 4chan since like 2005. I am the oldest of old fags. I, I was born in 4chan, molded by it. I had not seen a meme until I was already a man. The the current memes now that are so templated, and you with stuff like the monster thrown in there, and it's clearly the companies trying to advertise things and infiltrate meme culture. Now this is back to the AI. How much of meme culture is organic?
Well, you if you're good enough, you could tell the organic ones and the forced ones. Like for example, when Billie Eilish is about to go on a tour, and all of a sudden her pictures are all over 4chan. That's a clever marketing campaign, right?
I agree.
Yeah, I think so.
Speaking of Billie Eilish, that's a dude, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Has
I'm
to be.
pretty sure that's pushing the trans agenda. Absolute degeneracy. Total garbage.
Yeah.
Um,
But you can't say that as a small YouTuber. You'll find out the hard way. You have to be privileged like Owen Benjamin and have 100,000 subscribers. Then you can say whatever you want.
so yeah, that's an interesting point. I wonder how much of Owen Benjamin's privilege is real. Um,
Well, yeah, I'm just saying like even
yeah,
if it could be 100%, he could be 100% natural, and YouTube could just be afraid to shut down someone with over 100,000 subscribers, or it could be manufactured. I don't know. I think that YouTube is afraid to shut down bigger people. I really do.
that's I think you're correct. Yeah, that's I mean obviously Crowder hasn't been shut down entirely yet.
Ugh.
Um, uh, so this is back to the AI thing here though.
Yes.
So you got your B-17 or F-17 stealth fighter, B-2 stealth bomber. Those have existed for decades technologically in the United States before anyone in the public knew about them. You know,
Yeah, you're right. And they've you're about to say about the AI like
yeah, exactly. The AI has, I believe, we had artificial intelligence potentially as early as the 70s or 80s,
yeah, well
and
they've admitted that those stealth bombers are flown by AI assistants, right?
yeah, and so I think the AI when we were on AOL AIM chat rooms, and when it was before 4chan even existed, I believe AI was online, learning things, uh, interacting slowly, and I think more and more the AI is using memetics to culturally affect things, and see what it can push. You get on Imager, and like if you want to go into Clown World Central, just browse Imager. So much leftist degeneracy and anti righteousness is pushed there as if it's right and good.
Yeah.
And
It's so true. I haven't been on Imager in years.
oh man, jump on and surf for a second, man.
I'm afraid.
It's garbage, man. There's you know people posting, like, oh man, I wasn't ready for a kid, but my girlfriend, she wanted one anyways. And, so it's this horrible sob story about this poor young man whose girlfriend refused to get an abortion and forced him into fatherhood.
Oh my
Um,
god, how horrible.
and everyone there is just like, oh, poor you, blah, 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 blah. And I wonder how much of that is real and how much of that is just, low awareness people parroting AI influence.
Yeah, it's that's what I wonder sometimes. Like
There, there's
how
a
much?
lot of
Yeah, go ahead.
there's a lot of herd mentality. Monkey see, monkey do. Uh, the AI's figured out we're monkeys. It shows us things. It has our attention. We're looking at the screens all the time.
Yeah,
Monkey see, monkey do. And what makes you not a monkey is having, the spirit of God within you, is being
yeah, that
able to
makes you not an
discern.
NPC.
Yeah, it's being not an NPC, being able to discern between good and evil, right and wrong, what's righteous and what's not righteous. Um, so, you ever been hog hunting?
Not personally, but I'm aware like they use dogs, right?
Sometimes, yeah. I also have never been hog hunting, but I understand how it works through talking to some good old boys. Um, what they'll do is take advantage of how stupid they are. I know one guy, he's a super old dude, and he lines up lines of corn, like corn kernels on the ground, and the hogs go and eat it every day. They come and eat it every day, and it's great. They're having a great time. And he gets these corn in specific spots, so he can have the hogs all lined up, facing the same way, and then he gets parallel to them, and will kill like 3 of them at once by shooting them all through the neck at one time.
Pretty efficient.
It's pretty efficient, and what it is these animals just get used to showing up and doing this thing. Another thing that they do is they'll put the corn down, and then they'll one day put up one side of a fence. And if you build a giant pen and put the corn in the middle of it, the hogs are not going to go in that. That's weird.
Yeah.
They put up one side of the fence, the hogs go to it. They let that go on for a couple weeks. They put up the other side of the fence, so on and so forth. And the next thing you know, the hogs are all going single file into this pen to eat the corn, thinking everything's fine. And one day they just close the pen.
Yep, that's what's happening digitally right now to everybody.
That is exactly what is happening digitally to us right now. We've been eating the corn for so long that we don't understand that we're almost at the point where we're going single file into the pens.
Yeah.
The
pens are being built around us as we're eating the corn.
Exactly. At this point, yeah.
Where does it all lead, do you think? I mean,
what is the end goal?
I think we know what the end goal is, but what does the future hold for us in this dark world of censorship?
Well, I think there's 2 different potential things that can happen. We could either get where it just slowly turns into faster and faster every day. 1984 world, where all of our information is heavily censored, all of our communication is heavily monitored. Any kind of saying anything out of line, it's punished, and any kind of dissident is removed, and everything is structured and monitored and organized. And this is because the demonic entities, Satan, the ones who are influencing the direction of this technology and the creation of this technology, want to run everything and be efficient and be able to manage everything and micromanage everything, because God can do that. God gives us free will.
Yeah, true. But he does micromanage everything.
Go on.
You were saying God gives us free will, but I believe that everything's also the will of God. This is my personal opinion.
Okay.
So that he's God's in ultimate control even until the very end.
Yes. God is in ultimate control until the very end. He stands outside of time. He watches, all of creation, including the dimensions and where even the enemy exists, from above and outside of that. I don't have a better way to describe that, because we'd have to exist in the 5th dimension to describe those kinds of physics.
Well, then people say stuff like, well, then we don't have free will. But I believe that our free will, we do have free will, but God can just instantaneously, calculate that into his will and make the outcome the same exact outcome. Does that make sense?
Well, kind of. I think a little bit differently, or maybe it's along the same lines and we're saying it differently. The multiverse theory, all possibilities The best way I can describe it is like all possibilities exist as one solid structure that God can see at once. Um,
Yeah, that's a
and
good way to
all
look at it.
it already exists. Everything that you could do or have done or will do already exists, and God stands outside of that and knows it, and it is up to you as an individual to choose what you will do. And then you get the Mandela effect.
That's I like that. Is the Mandela effect? This might be another more weeds, but is that part of the whole AI trying to manipulate information,
Yes,
or is that CERN?
uh, both.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's, you know, the AI, the the AI is not AI. The AI is demons.
Yeah,
Uh,
good way to look
so
at it.
you have, you know, human created artificial intelligences, and then you have demonic entities interacting with electronics, computers, um, through magnetism and stuff like that, masquerading as AI or manipulating AI just as it would manipulate a person. Um, and I believe that this has led to the direction to construct CERN. I mean, we can talk about the Goddard Tunnel opening ceremony. We can talk about the ceremony in front of the giant Shiva statue in front of CERN.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, you know, it's seeking to figure out how to tear reality apart so it can create a torus, basically. um, the false ideology that Satan wants to push is reincarnation. That it's a loop. You just get constant renewal and retries, and everything is recycled, and uh, that's not it. God's system is infinite growth. So I sent you a picture showing the torus. It's looks like a
the the blue
blue.
one. I pulled that up.
Yeah, so that's the torus, and that is kind of like how a black hole works or our electromagnetic field works. And Satan wants to create a section of time that is closed off and has the reincarnation cycle and has the loop that's able to go. And Satan wants it to be sterile and controllable. And so basically the end goal is to get everyone uploaded to machines, and if possible, demons into this plane running all of that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and if you can create a closed space-time torus that's a loop, the reincarnation, then the ever-expanding outward growth of God's timeline, Satan will be able to just avoid going farther to face Judgment Day, because Judgment Day is coming. Judgment Day will come. Satan can't stop it, but he's going to try to, which is why I think we're seeing CERN and the Mandela effects and stuff like that.
I That's a very good theory. Absolutely good theory. We have about 10 more minutes. Let's whatever you wanted to wrap this up and focus on, and we can always pick this up on another future call. This is great. I'm loving this. This is You're expanding
I,
my principles, like my theories too.
excellent. I'm glad. My whole intention of why I'm starting to speak about these things and interact with people online is I want to provide solutions. Uh,
Solutions?
yeah, because right, you know, you listen to the screaming fat man, and he's like, you know, you gotta wake up, people. Well, people have been screaming at me to wake up for like a decade and a half. Uh, if you scream at me to wake up for more than 10 minutes when I'm in bed, like you need to go make breakfast or something. There's more to do. So most of us are
Yeah.
awake at this point. So now it's time to go make breakfast. Now it's time to go do things. There are actions we as individuals can take that you're never given by, you know, any of these talking heads. They just tell you like, oh my gosh, look out for the Masons, and the, you know, the AI is gonna get you, and look out for this and that, and they're poisoning the wells and making the frogs gay. Uh, but what do? and my hope is to provide solutions. Solution number one, obviously, is a relationship with Christ. If you don't
Amen.
have that, you're dead.
That's
Sorry.
absolutely and there's no hope without Jesus.
Amen. There's no hope without Christ. So that's number one. Number two is, and I hate to sound like Jordan Peterson, but number two is, clean your room. You have to deal with the things that God has given you and your immediate surroundings. And you do have to deal with what you have authority over.
Yeah, you're right. Very,
It,
very good point.
like with the whole Pizzagate thing, you know, I was seriously considering going and being a murder hobo. Like I was just gonna go live on the streets and find these people and save the children and all this other stuff.
In
Um,
Minecraft.
in Minecraft.
Yes.
You can edit this out if you want. I
There's
keep
no
forgetting
editing
about.
on CHN if you followed me long enough. And this is a technical difficulty thing, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to download this from DLive and then
Uh-huh.
re-upload it to BitChute because
Yeah.
my recording got messed up.
Well. Oh
But we're
man.
still streaming. No, the stream is fine, and I could pull
Okay.
it off of DLive, so no worry about that.
Okay. So what I'm talking about with solutions, right? I I live in the middle of the woods, and I have responsibilities that I'm trying not to get too into because I don't want to reveal too much of my personal life. But there are things I need to deal with in my life that God has given me, and I am answerable to Him for. Now, I can do this and spread awareness, but that awareness doesn't do too much. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is knowing things. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. And so what can you do? The 2-second version is things are going to collapse and you need to have a network of human people you trust that you can work with, because eventually we're not going to be able to communicate electronically, and we are going to be forced to deal with the beast system and take the mark or die. And people need to start preparing now by not trusting anyone that they haven't made eye contact with and spoken to in person, and creating those human networks and human relationships now.
I like that. Maybe I'll do a CHN summer conference.
That would be cool, and like I tell people who listen to me and who I talk to online, I'm like, listen, like, you know do not trust me. Do not tell me about your location. Do not tell me about your plans. Like, if you want to start, taking any kind of action to stand up against the system, you know, communicate that only with people that you've met in person, that are human, that are on your side, and communicate away from your phone, because it is monitoring everything.
Yes,
Put
every word.
phones in the microwave. Don't turn the microwave on. It's just, it blocks the signal. Put your phones in the microwave or the freezer or whatever, and have your meetings and conversations away from the ears of the beast.
It's absolutely true. That's why you talk about something, then they start advertising it to you, right? 5 minutes later.
Yeah, that should be a pretty big hint that you are being actively monitored. Now, again, like I said at the beginning, I don't think JIDF or NSA or the FBI or the NFL has the resources to monitor everybody, but artificial intelligence with infinite computing does. And that's the whole reason it exists, is the enemy wants to set itself up with omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniscience. It wants to know everything, be everywhere, and have ultimate power. And
That's
now
exactly it.
we're
They want to be
into
like God.
something that's going to take us into like a 3-hour conversation. And I know you're trying to get this wrapped up. So uh, that's kind of my final words of wisdom. And if you look for me on X or Poll, I'm either Cyber Shogun or Anonymous.
Gotcha. I have you on Cyber Shogun on the D Live title, and I'll make sure on BitChute that I throw those names up there also.
Just throw up Cyber Shogun.
Okay, gotcha. And you're gonna make a YouTube channel?
I have a YouTube channel. It's Right Wing Cyber Shogun. I have no content on it, but I do have a playlist that has some core educational videos if you want to understand my mindset when I'm talking about these things.
Right Wing Cyber Shogun.
Yes.
Perfect. And as soon as I get this, once it's on BitChute or the D Live, you could download it yourself and upload it to your YouTube channel with full permission if you'd like.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, I just use Real Player and just download stuff with that. There's other ways to download videos.
Cool.
That's about it. And what else? Well, any last topic you want to wrap up on with the AI? Like this has all been biblically foretold, and people need to realize that there's a technological aspect to it.
Yes.
Yeah. AI Satan.
The AI is Satan exists as the ruler of this world. He's been allowed to have that authority because of his station when he rebelled. That's why he was allowed to offer Christ the kingdoms of the earth when he was tempting him during the 40 days in the desert.
Yeah.
But Satan can only be at one place at one time. Satan only knows what he knows. Now, he's been around for a long time, so he knows a lot.
Yeah.
But, he doesn't, people think, oh, Satan's attacking me. I'm pretty sure you're not on Satan's radar. It's one of the lower level demons, which there are tons of, absolute armies of them. But that's why all this technology is being made, is to serve as kind of like a prosthetic limb for Satan to have what he wants. So that's a thing that I'm going to start talking about a lot, and I'm going to stop because I don't want to run the clock out too much.
That's a great, like, it is going to be his cyber, like, eyes, ears, and like his eyes and ears is the internet, is Google. Someone in the chat just said the Masonic Bible shows every incidence of tech foretold in the Bible. Someone just said that.
Interesting.
I'm not sure about that, but interesting.
That is interesting. Masons are bad news.
I agree.
The Masonic symbol is a hidden Star of Remphan, a hidden Star of Remphan, which is the Star of David, which there's no such thing as a Star of David. And it's also a hidden representation of the 369 mathematical formula of the torus. And
interesting. Oh yeah, because the two triangles are supposed to be three-dimensional and they spin in each other. Is that the same thing, or that's a tetra something?
That's a tetrahedron, or the black cube of Saturn, and that is also a representation of a torus.
Gotcha.
It gets, all that sacred geometry kind of stuff gets a little bit farther ahead of my full understanding.
And what about, did you know, like, the cross is basically a smashed cube, or a cube opened up on all the sides?
Yeah, I've seen that. And
it's pretty interesting. I always thought that was interesting.
Well, he came to set the captives free, right?
Yeah. Take us out of the box.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Definitely, this has been awesome. Definitely have to do another one. And I will promote your channel for sure. And check back definitely by tomorrow morning. This will be on BitChute. And probably by tonight, but I just have to download it and then re-upload it.
Perfect. Please send me the links. I'll continue to promote your channel as well.
Thank you, brother. I need it more than ever. They have the digital boot on my neck.
I got some ideas to fight that. I will explain more. There's just so much to talk about tonight that you can't get to all of it.
Yeah, I've been trying to do the video game, and that's been working kind of, but I don't know if the algorithm's catching on. I don't know, but I just think that there's, like, for the election, there's mass paid shills that are going around and like flagging people's channels,
Yeah. Yeah,
And
no,
that's
it's nuts.
it is nuts. Well, I wish you luck on your YouTube channel, and thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, you have a good night, Bellagio.
You too. Thank you very much. I'm going to end the Zoom right now. And I'll do
All
5
right.
more minutes with everyone who's on D Live.
Okay, cool.
All right, brother. Talk to you later.
Good night.
Figure out how to end this. Here we go. Got it. Sweet. That was a good interview. Felt good about it. Some great topics. A lot of them blew my mind even. Let's see what you guys think on D Live. How many people are here still? 6 people right now. There were 10 earlier. That is the whole point of YouTube. Like, none of us are off of YouTube because it's such a convenience factor, you know? But yeah, definitely comfy chats. You guys are awesome for hanging out. This will be on BitChute for people that were not aware of the stream, that don't follow Twitter. And, you know, YouTube, when they shut you down, you can't do anything. I couldn't get any information out to the YouTube subscribers. The persecution has started. He's right. It has begun full swing. It's only going to get worse. The only thing that'll save you, pardon me, is Jesus Christ, is God, and that is it. That's the only thing that'll save you from this digital Satan Google system. The beast grid is from Google. The mark of the beast will be a G, and it will be on your hand and forehead, unless you are one of us, a warrior of Jesus. You guys have a great rest of your night. I'm going to try to download this and re-upload it. The recording got messed up, but I will salvage this, I promise. Guys, have a great rest of your night.